Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have an almost unshakable discipline, while others sink into their routine? Nowadays, when we open our social networks, we come across people who seem to have perfect routines, who apparently never make mistakes and never feel tired. But I have a secret to tell you. Most of the routines you see out there are lies. However, there are indeed people who have the discipline of a monk, but the difference between these people and you is not in their willpower. This is the method. And like the lotus flower, true discipline is born in chaos. Today, you will learn about the LOTUS Method, a system of personal discipline that has transformed the lives of thousands of people, but was inspired by ancient wisdom and tested in the trenches of modern personal development. This method is simple, practical, and brutally effective. But before I explain this method to you, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and activate the bell so you don't miss any new videos. Now, back to the video. In recent years, we've seen an explosion of content about habits, productivity, focus, stoicism. But why do so many people still fail when it comes to being disciplined? The answer lies in what is missing between the methods: depth. The LOTUS method is different. It does not rely on hacks. He is the root. He is the principle. He is a map to lasting self-discipline. And why lotus? Because the lotus blooms in the mud, and you can too. In Eastern philosophy, the lotus represents spiritual elevation. In Stoicism, it represents the virtue that endures even under adversity. In both cases, the message is clear. It is possible to grow even when everything around you tries to pull you down. Discipline is not just doing, it is being. It's not just waking up at 5 a.m. It's doing what needs to be done, even when no one is watching. Now, explaining about the method. Cleaning. The first step is to eliminate. You don't need to add habits. You need to subtract distractions. Social media, dirty environments, addictions, toxic people. Cleaning is an act of courage. For millennia, monks, warriors, and leaders practiced fasting. Not just dietary fasting, but sensory fasting. Why? Because in the void, clarity resides. Organization. The second step is to order. Discipline without direction is just tiredness in disguise. You need to know exactly what to do, when, and why. Use time blocks, checklists, bullet journals, or just a piece of paper on the wall. The chaos of the mind begins with the chaos of the day. Organizing is not controlling everything. It's allowing life to flow without getting lost in it. Training. Here begins the real test. Training discipline is doing the difficult thing until the difficult thing becomes normal. Wake up early, train, study, repeat. Not because you are motivated, but because you are this now. As Seneca said, "We train in peace to act in war." With every disciplined action, you train your mind to obey your soul. Unit. Have you ever tried living with discipline, but felt like there was something wrong inside? It's because your habits weren't aligned with your values. Unity is living without internal fractures. When you do something that is in harmony with your identity, discipline ceases to be effort, and it becomes an expression. Be who you are with intention. Silence. Finally, silence. The forgotten part. The art of pausing, reflecting, listening. Meditation, prayer, journaling, walking in silence. Silence is where you meet what is eternal. Every day, life screams, but wisdom whispers, and only those who learn to be silent will hear. But the Lotus Method is not just beautiful in theory, it is also supported by science. Cleaning. Researchers at Princeton University have found that cluttered environments significantly reduce the ability to focus. In other words, visual clutter equals mental clutter. A study published in Journal of Behavioral Addictions showed that the simple presence of a cell phone on the table already reduces cognitive performance, even if it is facing down and on silent. Organization. A study from Dominican University showed that people who write down their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them. And when you add deadlines and weekly review systems, that number goes up even more. Organizing your life reduces cognitive load. Free up mental space for what really matters. Training. Neuroscientists at the University of Cambridge have identified that repeating small, deliberate actions activates the dopaminergic system in a functional and non-addictive way. This means that practicing discipline daily reinforces the healthy reward circuitry in the brain. A study by the APA, American Psychological Association, also showed that self-discipline has a greater correlation with academic success than IQ itself. Daily repetition of small challenges builds neural resilience. You literally rebuild yourself from the inside. Unit. Stanford psychologist Dr. Kelly McGonigal explains that people who connect their habits to a deeper sense of identity are able to maintain routines for much longer. Because that is no longer a task, that's who they are. This connects to the concept of narrative coherence of the self, studied by Dan McAdams, where inner unity generates emotional stability, focus, and existential meaning. Silence. Functional magnetic resonance. Imaging studies have shown that practices like meditation and journaling reduce activity in the brain's amygdala, the center of fear and impulsivity. This means more clarity, more self-control, more awareness. Silence heals, and science confirms it. The Lotus Method is not motivational. It is biological, behavioral, psychological. It is the fusion between ancestral wisdom and modern science. Jordan Peterson once said, "Discipline begins with making your own bed. Small acts, big transformations." James Clear also said, "You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems." You don't have to wait for motivation. She is weak, inconstant, temporary, but the method remains. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that motivation isn't important, because it is. Motivation is a reason for your action, a goal that keeps you focused. Discipline and method keep you focused on your goal, or your main reason. Lotus is not magic, but it is fertile soil. And if you plant a decision today, we'll reap a lifetime of rewards. If this video spoke to you, I ask that you comment below. Which part of the LOTUS Method do you most need to apply right now? Discipline is the act of flourishing, even in the mud. See you in the next video.